and welcome to this Astranti video where we will be going through the student survey responses that we've received from the November 2020 exam. So that's the most recent exam that has been sat, and the pre-seen company in that case is Amazing Beds, and there is another set of exams set for this particular pre-seen. Those exams will be sat in February. Okay, so let's take a look at this student survey response. So what we're going to look at in this video, essentially what we did is we sent out a survey to a range of students who sat the operational case study exam in November of 2020. Okay, so that's the sitting, as I say, that has just passed. Now, we sent this out to a wide range of students. So some of the students were students that sat our Astranti course, but some of the students may have only purchased one or two products from us. Some of them may not have purchased anything from us at all and had sat the exam having used other providers. So we've got a wide range of responses from lots of different students. We haven't just got students that have worked with us before. And those students provided lots of great feedback, and we asked them, we sent out this survey just after they'd sat their exams, so it was fresh in their memory and they could remember the exact variants and some of the questions and topics that came up. And from that feedback, we were able to get a lot of really insightful information on how students felt that the exam went based on their expectations, what they would have done more of if they had their chance again, what they would do less of if they had their chance again. And the point of doing this is to help you to prepare for your exam. Okay, so you've got these students, they've all sat the exam already, they know what to expect, and they're giving us feedback about what the exam is like. So if you're sitting the exam for Amazing Beds in February, it's going to be really, really useful for you. This is someone that's already sat the exam and can tell you what to expect and how to prepare and to overcome potential challenges. So let's take a look at our first bit of the feedback. So this relates to exam difficulty, and the question we asked was, how difficult did you find the exam compared to your expectations? So whatever you expected, was the exam more difficult, about the same, or easier than you expected? And we have our pie chart on the screen here, and you can see that there are a range of different responses. So the key feedback, or the key messages to take from this, I would think, is that almost half of people, this big orange bit here, thought the exam was about as difficult as expected. Okay, now I said that some of the students we sent this survey out to, around about half of them were students who sat the Astranti course, and around about half maybe bought some individual products and sat with other providers. Now, my guess is that the half that expected the exam to be as difficult as it was probably roughly correlates with the students who sat with having had Astranti courses, because we take a lot of time and effort to make sure our mock exams reflect exactly how the real exam is. So about half of students expected the difficulty, but many found it more difficult. If we look down here at the red bit at the bottom, around 36% said they found it more difficult. Okay, so over a third of students sitting this exam found it more difficult than they expected. Okay, and some, even 7.7, or 7, nearly 8%, find it much more difficult. So not just more difficult, but a whole level of difficulty above what they were expecting. So lots of people find it more difficult. Many find it about as difficult as they expected. Very few people find it easier. Okay, no one really is going into this exam and thinking that it's easier than what they expected. Okay, there's a few small wedges around here who thought it was easier. There's nothing for much easier. No one thinks this exam is much easier. And then there are a few other sort of remarks that we don't need to focus too much on here. So overall, with regards to exam difficulty, as long as you are prepared and you've done mock exams, for example, you're probably going to know how difficult the exam is going to be. You've got a good expectation. However, if you don't prepare well, if you don't do mock exams, for example, then you're probably going to find it more difficult than you expect. This is not an exam to underestimate. Next, we asked students what they would have spent more time on in their preparation if they could do it again. So if they were going to sit this exam again, what would they have spent more time on? What did they neglect in their studies in preparation for their exam? we can see that the block at the top here, the number one choice is revision of theory. And this is particularly important for the operational case study exam. The way this exam works is that, unfortunately for you, almost anything in the entire operational syllabus is examinable. So you really can't go into the exam thinking that a particular topic won't come up. Now, obviously, every topic won't come up for you, but you simply cannot take the risk of going into the exam and thinking that, well, this topic probably won't come up for me. I don't like it anyway, so I'm not going to study for it. That is a very bad idea. You need to have a pretty solid understanding of pretty much all of the theory, and certainly a good proportion of your preparation for the exam should be revising the theory that you learned in preparation for your F1, P1 and E1 exams. Now, I'll make a point later on not to spend too much time revising theory, but you certainly should spend some time revising theory. That is important. Second place was mock exam practice. Okay, now in other surveys, this has been first place. It's always in the top 3. Students always wish they would have sat more mock exams. And at Astranti, we have 7 mock exams available specifically for this particular case at the moment. And there's plenty of opportunity for you to sit exams to get a feel for what it's like to actually sit this exam, to sit it under time pressure, to have questions kind of thrown at you quickly in succession and only have a limited amount of time to answer them. And then in third place, we have time management practice. So managing your time well. This is a very difficult exam for a number of reasons, but not least the time pressure. Okay, you've got a very limited amount of time to open the email or whatever it is that you've been sent. You have to read through all that. You have to look at the reference material. You have to figure out exactly what is being asked of you. And then you have to compose your answer. And you're looking at, sort of a few thousand words per task. And there's 4 tasks in the whole exam. Very, very extreme time pressure in this exam. So managing your time is really, really important to doing well here. Alongside that, at the bottom, we've also put planning. Answer planning is a technique you can use to help with time management. So if you're going to your exam, you've read the requirement, you know what it is you need to do. The first thing you should be doing is planning your answer. You could spend up to 10, maybe 15 minutes planning, and then the actual writing of your answer becomes a lot easier because you've done the hard thinking, you've done the hard work by planning in the first place. So just to summarize, what students would have done more of: revision of theory, practicing mock exams, and thinking about time management and planning their answers and what you might call exam strategy. We also asked them what they would have done less of. So what did they spend too much time on? What did they focus too much on? And it turned out to be perhaps less important, or perhaps they spent more time on it than they should have. They missed out other things that were important. So what they would have spent less time on, first of all, is the pre-scene analysis. Now, this by no means means that the pre-scene analysis is not important. It just means that it shouldn't be the only thing that you look at. Okay, so if in your preparation for this exam, all you've really done is analyze the pre-scene, that is not going to be sufficient. It's necessary to look at the pre-scene analysis, but it's not the only thing you have to do. There's lots of other things you have to do, and those are the things we just talked about. Okay, so don't spend so much time on the pre-scene analysis. Once you've done it and you've done the basic analysis, you have a good understanding of the company, you're ready to move on and focus more on exam strategy, sitting mock exams, revising key bits of theory. Similarly, the industry analysis. Okay, we produce an industry analysis pack video, and it's an overview of the industry. That is really there to give you some background information on the real life industry that the pre-scene company is based in. Okay, you shouldn't be spending loads and loads of time researching the industry. It's just there to give you a bit of context and understanding for how it all works. And if you can show that you have broader industry knowledge in your exam, you'll impress the marker and you'll get good marks. But it's absolutely not something you should be spending more than a day or so on. It's really not a very, very important thing. It can be there, it can be useful to get you marks, but it should not be the sole focus of your studies. Okay. The third thing here, and this is an interesting one, is the revision of theory. Now, this is going to depend from student to student. Obviously, in the previous slide, we were saying that the revision of theory was something that many students wish they had done more of. So students who have gone into this exam and they've had a question on a topic that they're not very certain about, they're obviously going to wish they studied more theory. However, if you're already fairly comfortable with the syllabus and perhaps you recently sat F1, E1 and P1, most of the theory is fresh in your knowledge, you don't need to go over stuff again and again that you're already comfortable with. You really just need to revise the stuff that you're unsure about. So the revision of theory, the key there is to get the right balance. Make sure you're revising things that you're unsure of. Don't waste time going over things that you're very confident with and you've done several times in the past. One final question that we asked the students was, what is one tip you would give to future students based on your experience of the exam? And this is kind of just a summary of a lot of the key points that we've looked at so far. So the first thing, and this was the thing that came up most often, is to sit mock exams. Pretty much, 60-70% of students would recommend sitting mock exams. It's the best possible way to prepare you for the real exam. It sets expectations for what is coming. What's really, really beneficial is not to just sit mock exams, but if you can get them marked. You can do that with Astranti. As I say, we have 7 mock exams. All of those can be marked. So you get them marked. That means you have a professional marker who's been dealing with the operational case study for years, and they can tell you exactly what you're doing well, exactly what you're missing out, and therefore what you need to do to improve. Probably what the single most valuable thing you can do is sit mock exams and get at least some of them marked. Second of all is good technical understanding of all theory. Like I said before, the trick here is to get the balance right. If you feel that you understand the topic, don't feel the need to revise it for the sake of it. You're really just plugging in the gaps in your knowledge of the syllabus. Fourthly, it's time management. As I've said, it's a very time-pressured exam. Sitting mock exams is going to help you with that. You'll get used to writing under time. That's something you should certainly do, even if you don't do a mock exam, which you should. But if you don't, you should at least practice writing answers under time and thinking about writing to time, making sure you don't spend too long at the beginning and then leaving yourself not enough time towards the end. And a really good way of doing that is answer planning. Okay, lots of students don't plan their answers, or they don't practice planning, and they get into the exam and they see how valuable it would have been if they have planned their answers, if they would have planned their answers out. Because you do that initial 5-10 minute plan, a lot of the hard work and the hard thinking is done up front. And then once you've got that out of the way, it really is just a case of getting your plan, just fleshing it out, turning it into paragraphs and writing a full essay style answer. So those are the key tips that came up from the student survey. So that's it for this video, really. That's the key information that we've got from the students who sat the exam in November. And we thought it'd be really useful for you to know that going into this exam so you can prepare and not fall into the same sort of mistake or make the same mistakes that they made by not preparing well enough, by not looking at theory or spending too much time on theory, by not sitting mock exams or by not practicing under time and not planning answers. So just to quickly run through you what we have available for operational case study. So this is our entire course, and these are the things that we have on it. So first of all, we have exam technique series. So that's a series, well, it's a study text and a series of videos that doesn't look at any of the theory of the operational syllabus at all. All it does is focus on exam technique. So how to write good answers, how to understand the requirement, how to plan your answer, what kind of writing style to use. It gives a very detailed, and ultimately you end up with a strategy for how to approach this exam. Once you've done that, you'll then move on to the theory revision. And this is where you fill in or plug in any of the gaps in your knowledge of the theory. So of course, don't waste your time, as I've said, studying things that you're already very comfortable with. You're just filling in the gaps in your knowledge here. Then we have the pre-scene analysis. This is a set of videos where we go through the pre-scene line by line, analyzing the company to make sure we properly understand it. And alongside that, we come up with the top 10 most likely issues for the company. And we do a strategic analysis where we come up with a strategy for the business. And that strategy should help to make decisions when it comes to the exam for the company. It just gives you a good context, broad understanding of the company. We also have the industry analysis. As I said, not super important that you spend loads of time on this, but it will give you relevant background knowledge and context for the industry, and that can be very useful in your exam. The examiner's report often talk about students showing wider industry knowledge. This is where you're going to get that from. Moving on, we then have mock exams. Okay, so our mock exams are based on the real life exams. They're timed. You can sit them at your computer, and it's as close as you're going to get to the real thing until you actually do sit the real thing. And the mock exams, you can just by the mock exams, review your own answers, see how you feel. Additionally, you can get marking and feedback as well. So if you wanted a professional marker to look at your exam, to mark your script and give you loads of detailed feedback to tell you how to improve, that is something we offer. And that is probably, as I say, one of the single most valuable things you can do in preparation for the exam. Additionally, we have question packs. So these are generic questions that are like mock exams, but they're not based on the actual pre-seen company. So our mock exams up here, these are all written about amazing beds. But the question packs are generic. They have a little sort of preamble where they're talking about a company and an industry, and it's just a way for you to get more practice in writing in an exam environment, in an exam style way. Finally, we have masterclasses. Okay, so we have a series of masterclasses that run over weekends at the moment. That may change in the future, but at the moment they're running at weekends. And they are essentially a day where you have a kind of intensive, focused study with a group of other students and a lead tutor, and they'll go through all the key things you need to do to prepare for the exam. That's split over 2 masterclasses, okay? And they're really useful for students who want that extra bit of perhaps a one-on-one interaction with a group and with a tutor. And over all of this, we have a pass guarantee, and that just means that if you don't pass your exam if you sign up for our course and you don't pass, we will allow you to use the course again for free. So we guarantee, essentially, we're so confident with our materials that if you sit our course and sit the exam, there's a very good chance that you're going to pass. But if you don't, we will give you the materials again for free for your resit. Okay. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope that was useful to you. Best of luck in your studies, and perhaps I'll see you in another video. So if you found that video useful, we have many more videos like that one on our YouTube channel. So give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want access to more of that content. We are also around in other places on social media. We have an Instagram page. We are available on Twitter, and we have a number of Facebook groups related to which particular level you are at. So if you're an operational student, have a look for our operational group where you'll find useful content there. And of course, you can find us at our website, www.astranti.com, where you can get access to many free materials.